Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Paragon Competitive League North American Division. We just saw Carbon and Arctic Wolves go at it. Carbon played as we expected. Arctic Wolves exceeding expectations, but unfortunately not to the point where they were able to get that victory. Into the next game we go, though, between Ratpack and Bronze Army. Ratpack, another name we're familiar with, has always been in that top 8, top 4 region. Have not yet to secure themselves a championship belt, though. Bronze Army, a new team with unfamiliar names, and we'll see if they're able to knock out the powerhouse of Ratpack. So, Piff, talking about Ratpack, when you hear the team Ratpack, what comes to mind?
Hearing myself. Shouldn't be hearing myself.
Just
gotta hit some buttons. No, I'm good.
There you go. Hit the buttons.
I don't like hearing myself. I'm sorry for you guys. I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, Ratpack, it's just they come short a couple of times. They are a very dominant team. They play very well, but they just haven't been able to get to that top tier just yet. So we'll have to see if they put in the work that they need in order to take away that top spot from a bunch of the teams that they've been playing against as of late. But we'll have to see if they've done that today.
That's right. And of course, we have a draft going into this here between these two teams. One hero that, of course, we didn't see in the last match touched at all was Aurora. A lot of emotionally charged dialogue has been going on about Aurora, and I'm very excited to hopefully see her in this coming weekend, or potentially the next match. We'll see as we go into the draft.
You want to see that? You want to see Aurora?
And Aurora hits R. Like, that's how you cast it, right? Like, that's how it works, right?
Yeah.
You just hit the button.
Hit the button, do the thing.
No, that's the next year is what I'm excited for. But next weekend. That's her. Next weekend. So get into this draft, Piff. Taking a look at the bands here, we do see. I think no surprise. Rampage being banned out. Rampage is a pretty good hero.
Banned out. You called him a rhino in the last match. What was up with that?
So yeah, he has that like rhinoceros sort of like muscular like Orsean enemy.
Frog dude,
maybe?
Balanced frog dude guy.
Frog dude. Okay. Okay, we'll go with that. And Bronze Army, as I said it looks like they're gonna take away all the fun, and ban out Aurora. Don't want to deal with the ice cold, the ice cold damage. She is cold as ice and doesn't care about what you think Aurora, being banned out here. So that's they don't want to deal with that Hoarfrost or any of her big abilities that she's able to dish out right there. Steel being picked up, first pick for Ratpack, no surprise. And of course, Decker and the big 1-2 punch that we've seen for time and time again. Decker Containment Fence, Make It Rain. Both these heroes individually are strong, but you put these guys together and the symbiotic relationship that these two guys have with each other, those two alone, if they play correctly, can just win you a fight if you're able to just those two right there. So I'm glad to see that Decker and House are being picked up here early in the draft.
I mean, even just one of them can help you win a fight. You get a Rocky, you get a couple of landmines from Howie, you get the stun bubble from Decker, and even without the Make It Rain, Containment Fence, definitely one of the better abilities in the game for the crowd control. Yeah. So, they've got a lot going with those first two pickups, and we'll see what Bronze Army is going to be able to do with that.
And so for the roster of Bronze Army, there may be some familiar names on here, specifically Miso Sneaky. So he obviously is a streamer of the Paragon Twitch community. Make sure you guys go follow him if you aren't doing so already. And then some other names, Kamikaze, Miso Tired. I've heard of that name a couple times. A lot of Miso. There's a lot of Miso in this team, but obviously the most notable name is Miso Sneaky. Gadget and Sparrow being picked up. We saw in the previous game, Sparrow had a high prioritization. The next one between these two teams, Sparrow has a high prioritization. So I think we're starting to see the trend of Murdoch no longer being the commanding officer of carries, and now Sparrow has taken that spot, at least so far right here, right now. And my favorite thing about it is that we're seeing a little bit of diversity of builds. That's one thing Paragon has definitely been a little bit stale when it comes to diversity of deck builds, and it seems like Sparrow is starting to have the way her kit is that you can actually build her a little bit differently depending on your style. So I really like to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. But always got to be worried about that Murdoch guy, though, because, you'll just be not expecting it, and then I'll come in with that long number of the law, and he's just going to be like, he's not even in this game. What's going on, guys?
Exactly. Exactly. So as we develop further on into the draft here, we do see that Kwong and Grux have been picked up. So the Bruiser brothers, again, not the tankiest lineup in the world, but a lot of control and a lot of big burst damage abilities, especially on that Kwong. You get hit with that tether, the judgment of the heavens, and you're snared. You just took a big amount of damage. I think that's one of the best ways to deal with a Sparrow is having consistent means of crowd control that isn't ultimate reliant. So things like Kwong's tether, things like smash and grab, things like stasis bomb, things like the landmine from howitzer. They already have 4 to the 5 heroes have really good ways of punishing Sparrow's inherent weaknesses. You put those together. Ratpack, we saw a stasis gem before. Hopefully it's going to be like a stasis gem on top of a blink charm, on top of a hunter's guile for all that CC coming out right now.
All to survive. Another thing that looking at the Grux and the Kwong brings to mind for me is a play that Carbon made about a week ago in the PCS. They went for a very early orb prime, basically right after it spawned. I believe they killed it, or they started at around 10 minutes 30, and they just went right onto that thing and started going ham. It was really fantastic to see people take advantage of those kinds of strategies, and a big part of that was the Grux and the Kwong. So having some lifesteal there, having the cards onto Grux early can lead to a very early take for Bronze Army. So that's something that Ratpack are going to have to be aware of early, especially if Miso Tired starts to, or whoever the howitzer player is, starts to make some plays on the other side of the map with the howitzer. They're going to have to be very careful and aware that the OP could be done very early.
Yeah, and that's something I'd love to see that teams are starting to build teams around the potential of that happening. Early game or primes or something that we haven't seen since Malt has come out. Back in the Legacy, it was like 5 minutes, let's go. Different time, different game. And here's a hero we haven't seen in a we don't see much of, rather, unless you're Phasma, and that is Richter being picked up here by Ratpack. Of course, Feng Miao, that's pretty straightforward, but Richter coming into play. Richter had a change. I don't know if it was a buff but I mean, at very minimum, you can call it a change to where his Riplash, his hook, is now on for PC players that right mouse button instead of the Q button. So I guess it's just more ergonomic to get off, and also it's an auto. The way the mechanism of how it works, controlling it is much different as well. So I'm interested to see what Richter does with this here. And again, where is he going to fall into the lane? Is he going to be support? I mean, you have Steel could be support. You could have the we've seen Gadget support before. Probably not the case though. So I'm curious to see where the Richter and Steel go respectively. I'd imagine it's going to be we'll just have to get into the game and see Pith. That's just what we're going to have to do to figure out how Ratpack is going to lane this one right here. So I'm ready to get into this, my man. I'm all set up and ready to rock and roll. I can't wait to see some Richter hooks. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Got to get those hooks in. So let's start it in 3, 2, 1, go.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, welcome to the Paragon Competitive League North American Division. Right here, right now, we got Ratpack Esports, as they like to call themselves. Yeah, we ain't esports yet, but we sure as hell are working on it. Bronze Army on the other side. Last time we didn't have time to introduce these teams, Pith. Let's do it right now, but while we still have the time. Involve on Gadget, Crown on Steel, Lucera on Richter, Bum on Fang Meow, and Strafe Dash on Sparrow. Who do we got on the other side?
Got Miso Tired playing the howitzer. Kamikoze, he'll be handling the Kwong. Bronze is my favorite color. He's got a Twin Blast for himself. Miso Sneaky, he's got a Grux. And then finally Miso Jaboosted will be handling the Decker.
Miso Jaboosted, and soon to be Miso Jabaited if he doesn't play very carefully here. So Lucera on the Richter, I'd imagine that is going to be a support Lucera. A support Richter with potentially Crown. He traditionally is their jungler, and then is going to be So that's what I figured the way it was going to go. And then Bum is their offlaner. Feng Miao over in that offlane. So are we going to see the Bronze Army? Looks like they're going to be setting up to do what we've seen before. We haven't seen yet today on this broadcast. Is instead of your support carry going into the safe lane, you put them into that mid. So, Pith, elaborate as to why we see this, the sort of advantages that it brings to the field.
Well, it definitely does allow the the teams to get some pressure onto the green buff when the junglers start to go for it. We don't see any wards over there right now, but if there were wards, it would be extremely easy to go and try to interrupt that. But now that we see both teams going for the dual med, it basically shuts that down and forces them both to try to play with it. And I would expect Bronze Army to have more of an advantage here, since Lucer, the only thing that he can really do in this lane is just kind of walk around and look for a hook, and even then, I'm not even sure if they're going to have the damage to be able to take down one of these heroes.
So it's going to be interesting looking at with Miso tired on Howitzer up against the Fang Miao. I think once Miso tired gets a couple levels on that Howitzer, Bum is going to have to play. He's going to have to respect that Howitzer with the amount of control that he has. Of course, Reaping Dash can be used to get himself out of any awkward situations, but Howitzer is arguably the best solo laner, whether it's mid or whether it's safe lane, wherever he may be in the game. And we actually see Bum getting aggressive. There's the landmine, but actually knocks him into the wall. That's not what he was looking for, but it was enough to scare Bum away from that aggression. 2.5 minutes, around that 3-minute mark. You might see those supports roam, or the junglers run over to those river buffs. It is going to be a black buff on the right side of that, and then a purple buff on the left side. And again, the strength of the black buff, the damage over time, very, very strong. But Bronze Army, instead, rotating over to the purple buff a little bit ahead of time, 10 seconds ahead, maybe preemptively trying to catch out Crown as he rotates inevitably over to that river buff. And that's what's going to be happening. He does have the green buff, so he's going to be reflecting that damage and also mitigating it. Bluey being a good buddy and buddy blocking his friend, trying to get away. Been there. We've all been there. We've all done it. We've all done that at least once in our Paragon careers. But he is going to be able to get away, and it is Twin Blast of all people on the purple buff, not the most threatening thing. Black buff on Miso sneaky, so a smash a grab with that black buff could definitely yield a first blood if he plays accordingly.
Yeah, sometimes he got some fat bodies. He's going to block a couple people, and it's pretty inevitable.
It's just par for the course, man. When you play Richter, you're just like, I'm in the way constantly.
It's a sad truth. So, it's a very sad truth.
So looking over here at what would be the off lane for Bronze Army, it's Gadget versus Kwong. Can't think of the last time I said that was a matchup there. I mean, Kwong, he has the lifesteal, he has the sustain, of course, the on-demand armor, both ability and auto-attack armor, utilizing his right mouse button. But do you think in this matchup here, I feel like it's just pretty much a wash? Gadget can harass him down with the sticky bomb, but Miso Sneaky can just lifesteal up, and also every time the sticky bomb is about to blow up, he just pops that armor boost and mitigates a significant amount of damage there.
Yeah, it's even a situation where I might start to see the Kwong get a little bit aggressive. He might start to say that, you know what, the Gadget is a little bit low, she's in a bad position, I can put out a tether, do some damage there, and eventually the harass might be a little bit too much for Involved to really deal with, especially when he starts to get low on the mana.
Low on the manners. Yeah,
no
that's
manners.
exactly what he does. That's exactly what he does. He uses that on-demand armor, and that sticky bomb from Involved did pretty much no damage. Of course, he's not level 8 yet, so he doesn't have that full damage scaling out of that yet, but we'll see how that goes. Mid lane, a little bit of a resident sleeper here, as it's just pretty much, this feels like the old days of Legacy over on the red side of the map, as we used to call it here, Pith. Between, it was always support carry versus support carry, and it was pretty much a non-factor of a point of contention for the first, like, 20 minutes of the game. But that's how these guys are deciding to play here. And it's funny how the dynamic of this works, where if you put your support carry in the mid lane and your other team doesn't, you play entirely different than if it's just support carry versus support carry. Other side of the field, Kamikaze's in some trouble. Bull Rush was there to knock up. He tried to use the tether to give him some sort of means to get away. Involve is going to go down to the tower. So essentially is a 1-for-1. A lot of resources committed for that first blood, though. And nonetheless, Gadget goes down anyways. So I think for an offlaner, you're not too upset about that predicament.
Not terribly upset. It's not really so bad for Kamikaze. He's just kind of doing his thing there. It was a red buff on steel. Kind of difficult to get around that.
Miso boosted is Miso dead. Their mid lane, Richter landed the hook, got the silence on him, and the piercing arrow from the low ground is what secured the kill right there for Strafe.
Yeah, Twin Blast for some reason rotating over towards the left lane. Bronze, my favorite car, having some fun over there. After Kamikaze, he died, so it might be a play to get a couple of levels, as Lucer, he's looking for a little bit of another one here on the Sneaky.
Landon hooks now, it's just on Monolith. Before, outside of travel mode, I gagged a little bit, was very, very difficult. And now that everyone has a just higher base speed, landing hooks is just. I played Richter once, and I just like I can't play this hero. It's so difficult to do. So it's all point being, if you can land those hooks consistently, you can really tear it up. But Richter can be a liability because the problem with Richter, the way you deal with his Riplash and his pick-off potential when he lands those hooks is when a hook does land, you just have a pretty much a understanding in your team that if one of us gets hooked, we all just counter-engage onto the Richter. And so even though the hook was landed and sure, he might be able to get his ultimate skewer off, Richter isn't necessary. I mean, he is quote-unquote tanky, but in the current state of the game, if he hooks the wrong person to him at the wrong time, it actually could be more of a detriment than it is setting up a kill. So that's the other big thing about Richter players is not only being able to land those hooks, but to understand when it's a good time to land that hook. Between those two factors, Richter really can somewhat become a liability. He is able to land that. Follows up by the two-man shield slam. No follow-up thus far. The damage isn't really here. Miso Siki flanking around. Crown is able to get the kill onto Decker. But, I mean, it's a support Decker at this point. Crown does get smash and grab. Not sure if he has the bull rush to get away. He does. But the
Nice tether.
beautifully done. And the immediate kamikaze goes in there with the judgment of the heavens. And that also hits the steal. So 2 kills. Beautiful rotation. Wasn't looking good for him. Make It Rain has been queued up. And it's going to go right over the Amber Link, trying to zone out Bum to make sure he can't get away because he's trying to slice down Miso Sneaky. Kamikaze trying to do what he can. Miso Sneaky's got to be careful.
Oh, here they come, though.
And now turning over to Miso Tired. And yeah, Strafe coming around the corner. This fight is just back and forth. It's a tug of war. And now with Sparrow showing up, what was looking good for Bronze Army is not going to be the case. As Ratpack get 3 kills. And that was a very tight team fight right there. Could have gone either way, but the moment Strafe showed up, he just said, all right, boys, party's over.
Yeah, respawn timers and rotations from Ratpack were what allowed them to get back into that fight. They had a nice Tesla Dome from Gadget, splitting them up, and you'll see that a lot of these fights end up being all about the positioning and zoning out the enemy team. And we start to see a Bronze Army start, have a little bit more aggression out towards the mid lane, but Lucer, he is so ready with another hook. But these guys, they just have to be so careful that they're not getting too far in. I think Bronze is my favorite color, possibly caught out a little bit there as he tried to maybe get too aggressive on the Twin Blast.
Interesting build coming out here from Lucer of the double regen token here. A healer token. Haven't seen that now. Healer token, incredibly valuable in the early stage of the game, but so valuable that he's like, I'm getting 2 of them. So this is just full support build, full sustain build. Make sure that the damage I take when I do land a hook is completely regened back up here. Red onto Twin Blast, not the most threatening thing in the world. Probably would have been better off on the Decker, but that's okay. How are we doing over here on the other lanes, though, as Gadget and Kwong continue to battle each other out? I have to say, it's not very often where you look at all 3 lanes here, Pith, and you see the matchups, and you're like, there's not really a big one-sided advantage of the lane matchups at any point in time. Intrinsically, there's always that advantage between the sort of 2v1 that we traditionally see, but when the lanes fall into a place like this, sometimes it's a little bit more of a slower-paced game. Kamikaze was in a little bit of trouble there. The Tesla Dome was popped by involved, maybe to get a kill, but Kamikaze, again, Kwong with that on-demand armor can just mitigate so much damage as long as you use it appropriately.
Yeah, he's been doing really good with making sure that he stays alive, maybe putting some aggression on to involve a little bit there. But like you said, these lanes, the only advantage that's going to come out of them is just those player advantages, being able to just do it a little bit better than the other guys and make sure that they don't lose too much here.
Lucer just hooked Miso Sneaky up from the low ground up to the high, and then Crown from behind gets the shield slam onto Twin Blast and the piercing arrow. So Strafe, just like that, they strike in the mid lane, and now Miso boosted. Beautiful hook by Lucer. And that should be yet another kill, as there is no rocket boots for Decker to get away. Used it before. So Ratpack, that entirely was set up by Crown, wrapping around, coming in from behind, getting that 2-man shield slam, isolating the Twin Blast, the piercing arrow to follow up, and now 4 charge in the mid lane to pick up this tower. Make It Rain used to try to clear out the wave, so Miso Tired is going to be able to clean this out. The rest of his team is respawning here in about 10 seconds. So just like that, it's still very, very early for teams to try to follow up on kills like that. If you're Ratpack, you're just happy you just got a big economic boost from that team fight.
Yeah, Ratpack, they took so much there. They're not getting towers. They're not getting objective. We don't see them going for the Raptors right now, but they're very happy to just win these team fights, and Lucer is doing a great job of making sure that they keep securing one after another.
Miso Sneaky does get the smasher grab onto Strafe, but Lucer is flanking around right here.
Look at that guy.
And if he's able to do so, Strafe, just that buildup of damage. And now Bronze is my favorite color, living up to his name, and he goes in there and gets taken out as well.
Savage.
So just like
savage.
that, 2 kills. Gets sometimes in the middle of play-by-play, man, words, you say things, it just comes out like that, man. But 2 kills over to Ratpack, and they really were thirsty to try to take down Strafe, but you got to respect that build-up damage on Sparrow. With her attack speed and the way that her inner fire scales, or I'm sorry, her passive scales of Relentless. If you overstay your welcome, all of a sudden you're just taking massive amounts of damage that you otherwise wouldn't expect.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were talking about fat bodies before. Well, that was one situation where it looked to be, pretty good for Lucero on the Richter. He was able to block out a little bit of the damage that was going towards Strafe, and allowed her to stay alive and keep doing that huge damage that Sparrow is so good at putting out in the early game. At all stages, really.
Yeah, it's all about landing them autos, though, which Strafe clearly is capable of doing. That's
beautiful hook from Lucer.
The follow-up, though, the Piercing Hour, not going to be enough. Maybe 1 or 2 more auto attacks plus. Look at the damage from that Piercing Arrow. That's like 10 to 15% over there. Yeah, forcing Decker back. I mean, if she stays here, she's level 5. She has the Containment Fence online. So I think this is a moment of, do I stay and try to defend the tower at the cost of my own life? Do I have the time to back up and come back to the fight? And right now, it looks like the shot calling is going to be for Decker to stay there. Now, of course, so early on, the regen, as well as having any sort of regen items, really gets a big advantage. And now we see a little bit of a 1v1, but Lucer has the blue buff and is quick to the fight. Lands a hook. I just say Lucer, 100% hook rate, 5th. 100%
so
hook
well.
rate.
And Skewer as well.
There's the Containment Fence on to 3, but right now I don't think that's doing much of anything as they're just focusing down Miso Sneaky. If anything, it just gave him a little bit of an audience right there as Grux gets taken out. So Ratpack, they tried to get this tier 1 tower before, but after picking up those 2 kills, as well as knowing there's no Containment Fence, pretty straightforward call. Continue the aggression, continue the push, and now we'll see they're going to continue to push down this tier 2 tower, or they're going to rotate into the jungle. Strafe is only at about half HP. Kwong is showing on the right side of the map. Howitzer is showing on the left side of the map as well. So, yeah, if I'm Ratpack, I'm saying let's continue this push.
I think that might have been a timing issue from the Twin Blast. He might have thought that the Grux was a little bit too close. As we start to see Bronze, they get into this one, landmine put down, but it's not going to do anything to stop this tier 2 tower push.
They're able to get it. Lucer getting out of there, and very cleanly executed. And now Miso Kamikaze has to play carefully here, as he could have been caught out. But I think the prioritization right there for Ratpack was to just get out cleanly. But yeah, very, very seamless execution. They were able to pick up the kills. They got the tier 1 tower. They recognized that both Howitzer and Kwong were showing on the opposite sides of the map, granting them the opportunity to take down a tier 2 tower 14 minutes into the game. Very, very early, mitigating their ability to get on the map as quickly as they can. And I feel like this call right here to go on the Raptors here, Pith, is we know we're behind and we know we need to do something to get some momentum back. And it looks like they're going to be able to get away with this completely unpunished. I don't think that Ratpack has any idea this is happening.
Yeah, not only, well, they might have had some kind of idea about it. They should have known that all the heroes were off the map. They could have just thought that they were going for Raptors. And in fact, we're going to see Bronze Army go for a little bit more against Involve.
Big rotation right there, but Shield Slam is here. He was able to get the Tesla Dome down before he goes down, and they're sitting in it. The Shield Slam into the Tesla Dome, so devastating. Look at these hook rates. He uses the hook to get the kill. Beautifully done, and now can he do it again? Okay, he used the ultimate. I was hoping he was just going to wait for cooldown and do it, go for a twofer and get 2 kills using the Riplash. Not going to be the case. Strafe zoning out too, actually looking for the kill. Piercing Arrow is there. The damage from Piercing Arrow is not to be underestimated. Strafe flanks in. There it is. That's what I'm talking about. Lucer, someone. I'm calling back. We need some backup in here, Pith. That is ridiculous.
Please.
Immediately lands just those hooks coming time again. 4 down for Bronze Army. The tier 2 tower to fall. And I wonder, are they going to go for an inhib push here? I mean, that would be a pretty aggressive call to say that. And it looks like that might be the case, as Midwave does have a pretty big, that has a siege minion and a handful of range minions. And they're going to continue the charge here. And the moment someone shows up, they're backing up. Yep, Howitzer's here. It's still a little early to be pushing down an inhibitor, even with Ratpack taking as decisive of a fight as they did there, Pith.
Honestly, in that situation, if you're Ratpack, you're just saying, you know what, maybe Bronze Army, they start to do, another one of those bad decisions that they've been making a couple of times this game that have just led to a positive difference for Ratpack. Maybe you're just hoping that Bronze Army, they do one of those things again that allow you to get the inhib, looking for them to make a mistake. But as soon as it's very clear that that is not going to happen there, Ratpack just get out. But yeah, that push was just so good. And Lucer, he says, you guys don't need kills. I'll take all these with my hooks.
That's actually part of Richter's lore. Is he nabs things with his Riplash, right? I feel like KL could confirm that. Maybe I don't know. It's potentially. Let's take a look at the economics here, Pith. We haven't had much of a moment as these teams have been going at each other's throats for some time. CS significantly advantage of Ratpack. Kills even more so, going over to Ratpack of 17-4. So. And just taking a look at the numbers themselves, between Strafe at 31 card power to the 22 of Bronze is my favorite color. Not very often do you see a discrepancy that large. Twin Blast narrowly able to get away. Miso boosted was used that stasis bomb to peel. And now they're trying to get a consolidation of maybe forcing Bum out, or getting a kill because Bum forced the issue so much. Reaping Dash, speed boost, or speed gate, stasis bomb did not land. Even if it did, not sure if it would have had enough damage. Now Strafe is here, and they're looking to turn this around. Cursing Arrow, trying to get some harassment on a Miso tired. Landmine was used, and I think Strafe, knowing that Landmine is used, is now going to force out the Make It Rain. So Strafe is forcing out a lot. Containment Fence only on to the Sparrow, when meanwhile somewhere else in the world, we did see that Grux was taken out. So that was Sparrow zoning out and forcing two very, very important ultimates, so the rest of their team could secure a kill on the Grux.
Think about those words, Sparrow and zoning. Like, how often do you even hear those?
Yeah.
Just going absolutely aggressive in there and just showing Bronze Army that they really cannot contend with her at all. And Strafe is just, he knows that he's got the damage output to go against those couple of heroes and forces out so much just for them to keep him away.
When you have that sort of massive lead and continuing to build, as you see Strafe picking up the Raptors, but when you have that sort of massive lead, you can do things like that we don't otherwise would never ever see. I think even Shurik from the last game, Shurik is going like, "Yo, Strafe, you might want to back away, man. You might want to get away. You're a little bit too. If Shurik is saying that to himself, you know that there's a big power play going on at that point in time. So this Richter, this has been the most impactful Richter that we've ever seen here. Is Lucer on Richter playing so spectacularly that it's just is Lucer himself playing that hero so well, as I try to gather my thoughts, that is the reason why we've seen a successful Richter? Or is it because more so they have a strategy built around the Richter, right? There's always that dynamic of certain heroes you have to build a composition around it. Is it both of them together? I mean, it's just, I'm trying to think of why we haven't seen a successful Richter and why now all of a sudden we are seeing a successful Richter. If it's just a matter of mechanics or a matter of strategy.
Well, you have to be able to use the hero first off as well. We're seeing a lot of kills go on right now.
Yeah, Bum did kill. Bum went in there, and that's the shame play right there. You dive under the tower and you sacrifice yourself for taking down the carry. 1 for 1, taking down Bum. But I think in that situation, just due to the massive, look at the massive discrepancy in respawn timers for Pith. Almost a minute plus for Bum, and then like 40 seconds for Twin Blast here. So in that situation, there is going to be a window where Bronze Army actually is going to have a power play available to them.
Yeah, they could defend a little bit better, but the damage is still coming in pretty hard and fast from Ratpack. In terms of Lucer, I mean, you've got to be able to hit those hooks first off, but if you look at what they give to your team, as a smash and grab is going to be missed on the mid lane as well, is that he's going to be able to get people out of position, which is, I think, the main thing about Richter. You have to be able to use the hero, but once you're able to do that, you set up so many things for your team, pull heroes out of position, and get them into a lot of places that they really don't want to be at all. So, I mean, having the Richter on the team, it might not be a bad thing at all. You just have to be able to use it to the fullest extent.
I think it just maybe was a matter of teams figuring out where his role is best served throughout the course of the match. And I'm so glad when Monolith was first announced, and I was like, oh man, Richter. I've been saying, you can go back to the previous broadcasts, and I've been saying that I think Richter's a sleeper hero. And I'm so glad that finally, at least for one match, there's a little bit of validation going on right there. The good old caster's curse, if you will. the dominating performance here from Ratpack really is in full display. If you guys just look at the mini-map, waves are pushed out, shield slam. Oh, there we go. There's a little bit of some jukes coming out from the Twin Blast, but I don't think that's going to be enough to secure his getaway. Actually, no. He actually is able to, they all fall off the cliff right there. And the containment fence on it too, as well as the Make It Rain. This could be a great moment for Bronze Army. Crown's low, but it just simply doesn't matter. Strafe comes in there. So much damage from that Sparrow, has such a significant lead that even with the advantage of the positioning and the initiation of the fight, it simply does not matter. And as well, of course, Strafe does have the black buff on top of it. 4 go down.
And an inhib.
All the meanwhile, elsewhere, on the other side of the map, Involve is pushing, and he's more than likely going to be able to pick up that inhibitor. So that was actually a 4v5 that Ratpack were able to win. Going to pick up 2 inhibitors here, and this may just be the critical blow that they are looking for to end. Yeah, they're not even going for mid inhibitor.
Going for the kill blow.
Wave is down, and they're going face now, boys, and I think they're going to be able to get it. Miso Tired's the only one online, and he is just, or I think my UI might be bugged out. That actually is all 5 people being down right there. But nonetheless, that is going to be the game. Ratpack showing off that they are a force to be reckoned with, and they are going to take this game.
Yeah, it was Miso Bronze that were not able to, like, they did a couple of good things. They had some okay lanes, but in the end, it was Strafe going ham, Lucer hitting the hooks that he needed to, and the rest of the team kind of doing the things that they wanted to do the entire game. So it was not really a difficult game at all for Ratpack, but it was still a lot of fun to see. And, I mean, who was going to say no to a Richter game?
Exactly. Not only a Richter game, but a 100% hook rate. I'm saying that in jest, guys.
Yeah, okay.
I think it was near 100% hook rate, by the way.
It was really good. Let's just
it was
leave it
really
at
good. That is the best Monolith Richter performance that I have seen. And I haven't even seen Lucer pick Richter ever. Even, I mean, and I watch, you know, I go and lurk in these guys' replays and stuff like that to, you know, it's part of my job as a caster to do that. And I've never, I mean, I can't think the last time I saw him playing Richter, and man, did he put on performance. I hope if Ratpack goes against a powerhouse team like one of the Oxygen or Carbon or something like that, that they pull out the Richter there, and then if they're able to have that strong of a performance,
that would be so fun.
That would be a blast to cast, but I think that would speak volumes about how Paragon is still yet to be figured out. There's still a lot of learning to be had, even in its current state and its early development status, that there is an unknown amount of depth to this game strategically and mechanically that teams have yet to fully grasp and fully get control of, and that's what I'm most excited about when I see Richter play right that Pith.
And we need that too. We need these teams to get better at their heroes, show us some things that we haven't seen before, so that we can keep getting that learning process going. So these games get so much better, and the teams get even closer, even more than they are right now in how they're able to play, and games that could go back and forth all the time. So Ratpack, like we said earlier, haven't been able to find that top spot in a lot of tournaments so far, but today they show a pretty dominant performance against Bronze Army.
Very much so, man. And we keep talking about Lucer on Richter, but I mean, you got to give it to Strafe as well. You got to give it to everyone on that team. We're playing so well individually, as well as communicating, the shot calling, obviously on point as well. So I'm excited to see them as they progress further on into this weekend's event here. Guys, don't forget, head over to Twitter, join the conversation, use the hashtag PCL, and tell us what you think about the games, the strategies. What do you think about that Richter show, that display of Richter hooks?
The hooks.
Most stylistic Richter that we have seen to date, other than the only other one was